What's up, ladies, gentlemen, everything in between and on the outskirts. Welcome to Yukhazara Anime, where I'll attempt to give my thoughts in a reviewer's type manner on anime that either I've been watching or recommended by people for me to take a look at. Today we're going to be looking at Blue Eye Samurai, which is an animated series that was created and written by Michael Green, who co-written many episodes and properties I'm a big fan of. Notably, the shows like Smallville, American Gods, Heroes, along with films including Blade Runner 2049 and Logan. One other thing that he had his hand in writing is a number of comics for the DC properties. The second co-creator of Blue Eye Samurai is actually Mr. Green's wife, Amber Nozimi, which I would suspect the main character's facial features could be based off of. Amber, according to this interview I watched, was responsible for doing research and spearheading the incorporation of topics that this show is fully expressed. Blue Eye Samurai was handled by the animation studio Blue Spirit Studios that was based out there in France and Canada. They have produced and also collaborated with other entities to give us other IPs, but just from looking at their works, I would not be surprised if Blue Eye Samurai is their most mature in terms of content. Other animation studios that were involved were 3 Arts Entertainment and of course Netflix's own animation studio. So what exactly is this show about? Well, Blue Eye Samurai tells the tale of this outcast that goes by the name of Mizu on her journey to seek revenge on the one that gave her her life. In this case, her supposed father. Not because he did anything bad to her, but just because she was simply conceived. The reasoning for her quest seems a bit dumb, and even after watching the first season for the second time, it still sounds a bit dumb. The saving grace to validate such objective is simply just by happenstance and coincidence that, for minor spoilers, he's a jerk. But you see, during this time period of the 17th century Japan, the Japanese people closed their borders to the Western world, with people of a different race shown to be shunned or ostracized. Unfortunately, Mizu is a victim of circumstance beyond her control. She never had any say in her conception, but as the audience, we do see how she deals with this issue. While watching this 8-episode season, we see Mizu pick up some friends along the way to accompany her. You have a gentle giant, a samurai who wants to regain his honor after being humiliated, a princess who just wants her independence, and lastly, prostitutes. These side characters all have our main lady as the common denominator as to why they know each other, but each possesses their own individual challenges that they must overcome and figure out for themselves. One wants to learn how to be useful, one wants the freedom to make her own choice, and another just wants to protect and maintain what she holds responsible for. As the story progresses, you do see the evolution of these characters throughout the season. About the time that I was coming up on the back end of the season, I was looking forward to each individual's resolution and growth. Not one of these side characters are useless. All of their stories intertwine and intersect with each other, which from a storyline perspective becomes very detrimental towards Mizu maturing, growing as an individual, being more comfortable with her identity, and really makes her maintain her level of morality because our samurai here doesn't always do the right thing. She is a broken and flawed person. There are moments where it would seem as if her mission is all that matters to her, and sometimes she doesn't even acknowledge how her actions could negatively affect others along the way. But once her backstory is fleshed out a little bit more, it becomes apparent that she went through a whole lot that will actually warrant an intense therapy session. Being rejected, heartbroken, abandoned, the list goes on. You kinda feel sorry for her, seeing how tragic her past was in her childhood, and how it led up to her becoming what we see now. One of the major influences and my favorite person is Master Edgy. His wisdom and dry humor always left me engaged whenever he was on the screen. He is a blind swordsmith and someone who is detrimental in Mizu's upbringing. Whenever he speaks about how a sword is made, it's always utilized as an analogy of what a person is composed of, aka the swordsman. Now, on to the antagonist. This person lacks any depth and motivation other than I just want to be powerful. The way this man acts, behaves, and believes to be true is the main reason why nobody likes those from the West in the series. Guns, violence, and money is all he cares about. It really doesn't matter who's in the way, just as long as he gets what he wants. Ironically, it mirrors our main protagonist, much to her dismay. However, it's her relationships with others that won't let that happen. The plot of Blue Eye Samurai is something that isn't lacking depth and meaning. But before I get into that even deeper, let's first talk about the music and visuals. Now visually, this show looks amazing with this unique approach to its cinematic animation. The fighting, choreography, the execution, and combat, along with how well this world is realized, is just magnificent. Now within saying that, this animated series is not for children. Other than some awesome fights and hilarious moments, the show has a lot of adult content that rears its head every now and then. Most of the time, it's used as a means of relating two events to each other in terms of a metaphor. Then at other moments, it's just straight up fetishes. Case in point, the Tengu mask. To the viewers that have a dirty mind, I guess you can imagine the use for this. But again, going back to the style in which it's so rich in atmosphere kept reminding me of the first time I saw Samurai Jack. The presentation is only but one thing that makes the viewing experience more captivating. The other that makes this a complete package is its music. Blue Eye Samurai's original soundtrack was composed by Amie, who has done music for films and television series as well. Here, she brings the element of culture to this series, which is much appreciated. But then, there are tunes when it felt a bit hilarious and moments where it should have been serious, giving off the vibe that can be found within the famous Kill Bill movies. Next, I want to talk about the voice acting, which breathes life into these characters. Starting off with Mizu, who is voiced by Maya Eske. She brings out the strong and vulnerable side of Mizu, making her more complex. It's quite interesting to see the voice actor do a character who is a woman who is trying to portray masculinity aspects within the story. The sarcasm and jokes told from Mizu's dry humor is quite entertaining. Personally, to me, 2024 is Maya's year because she is also co-starring within the series with Donald Glover, serving as a reimagining of a classic film named Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Next is Mazi Okai, who brings this innocent and lovable character Ringo to life. His voice is like that of a sincere child still learning about the world. And really, you can't help but to smile and laugh whenever you see him up to his antics. And really, I am now convinced more than ever that, well, this is just the personality of Mr. Okai. If you watch any of the cinema that he's featured in, then you will know, he just playing himself. Darren Barnett as Tegan brings out the ego and confidence of his character, while at the same time showcasing his goofy demeanor, letting the audience know that he's not, in fact, all together. Brenda Song brought the determined and bratty personality to Akemi. She is only second to Mizu in terms of female leads of this story, who possesses a whole lot of attitude. Randall Park, who voiced the snooty and shrewd businessman Haiji Shindo, was like he had to tap into a different persona for the role. It almost made him feel like a villain from the 90s Disney movies, and nothing beats the classics. Then they put the legendary George Takei in this thing too. He voices Seki, the caretaker of Akemi. He is quite gentle, wise, and comedic, rolled all into one. However, he isn't the only legend that is voice acted in Blue Eye Samurai. They even went and got Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa, the original Mortal Kombat Shang Tsung. He also played that other guy that belonged to another live action movie based off a video game franchise, but we don't talk about that. Ever. What is very interesting about Blue Eye Samurai is its take on racism. If anything, this issue is somewhat at the forefront from the beginning to the end. But what is unique is how this concept is being implemented. In other anime, the stance of being a mixed breed and having to fight in order to adapt to a society that deems one as insignificant, less than, or just an abomination is not unheard of. Take Inuyasha for example. That guy is half human and half demon. His full-blooded demon older brother along with other races made Inuyasha's life a living hell because of what he is. It's actually his combination of human and demonic blood that made him the best of both worlds. For another example, let's look at Bleach. Ichigo is damn near every race that's rolled into one. It sounds ridiculous, but if you are a Bleach fan, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. What many anime watchers is accustomed to is a character who is mixed between things that are fictional beings. However, here instead of demons and supernatural beings, it's just regular white people. The way that these people view Westerners and that of the Caucasian race might as well be as if they're talking about demons. Now in retrospect, speaking about actual human history, you know, real life, people have done horrible and terrible things to each other whose consequences and aftermath seemingly reverberates from the time that it happened well into the futures of generations of people and societies. So one can understand the possible origins of such established prejudice, but it does not mean that it's alright nor fair to the ones that did not participate in such horrendous acts done by their predecessors. But that's just me though. Not only does the people of this show displays how it tastes to different races, but also towards women. This show resides in a time long before the concept of women's rights was a thing, which means that women and ladies were subjected to only particular occupations, duties, and expectations. Being a samurai is not one of them. That's kind of frowned upon. Unfortunately, since our main character just so happens to be one, it only adds another layer of complications she has to maneuver through to get her goal accomplished. With this in mind, it reminded me of another fictional character based on East Asian culture who was a woman who went against their caretaker's wishes, pretended to be a man, learned martial arts, and ended up saving a whole kingdom. Yep, it sounds a bit familiar. But anyway, you can check out Blue Eye Samurai for yourself. During the time of this review, it's exclusive to the subscription-based Netflix platform. And until next time, peace.